she had just bothered to measure my right leg, measure my left leg when I first came to her, and then every time I went to go see her, just check if the increase, and then said, you know what, you've actually grown in the week that I've seen you since last, or the 2 weeks since I've seen you last. Let's send you for an X-ray and see what happens. It would have been detected. I feel like a little bit of an effort on their part
would have made a whole lot of difference.
An absolute lot.
Because I detected it earlier.
They would have detected it earlier, and my leg may not have snapped.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you can't go back in time and say this would not have happened if you just don't know.
You don't know, yeah.
Anyway, so I stayed in hospital, in Queen Elizabeth Hospital. I had my second follow-up appointment with my consultant in the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital, and I was telling this to Queen Elizabeth because they wanted to operate, obviously, because they saw the tumour.
Yeah.
I told them about the upcoming hospital appointment with the consultant where he wanted to carry out more diagnostic tests, and I think they called the hospital and, you know, they arranged a transfer. So I was taken by ambulance to Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital when the bed became free. I think it might have been a day after, 2 days after.
Okay.
I got to the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital. I was there, I cannot remember the date at the moment, but I think towards the end of September, early October. And they did all sorts of tests. My leg was still in a sling of some sort initially. And they did all their tests. They took a biopsy of the leg, of where it had broken and everything. And they came back, and it was a Friday morning, and it was a really early Friday morning. And they said to me, okay, my consultant said to me during the ward rounds, so we've done all the tests, you know, it is cancer, but obviously at this point I knew that. And he said, so what we're going to do is we're going to work out what to do with my leg so that it doesn't move out of place, because that was causing, I was on so much painkillers, but that was any tiny shift in movement was just you know, unbearable. I couldn't do it. I was bedbound. So they put me in a cast from up here all the way down. Surprisingly, I could still move my toes on my broken leg. I could still, so the nerves were still working.
You could feel,
you know, it's just in the middle there was a disconnect. So they put my leg in a cast, and because it's a sarcoma, because they're so rare, they have multidisciplinary teams in the NHS to deal with them. There's a big one in London, so the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital teams up with UCL in Euston, and they work together. So the Royal National Orthopaedic looks after the surgery side, and UCL looks after the treatment of the cancer side. So I was then transferred from Stanmore to UCL, and I was really anxious because, you know, my experience of trying to get into A&E, Queen Elizabeth Hospital,
was horrible, wasn't it?
It was traumatic. So I knew that I was going to be moved from the bed that I'd been in the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital. I knew I couldn't do it myself. That meant I would need other people to do it. And actually, the staff at the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital are fantastic, and they're so gentle. You know, the majority of them are so good at what they do.
They're looking after you. Yeah.
So I you know, but I was so scared
because of that previous experience.
Yeah, I was so scared of being
manhandled, basically.
Yeah, by anybody. Not because of them, but just because I knew what it was going to hurt. Anyway, I got to the UCL fine, and I stayed in UCL from early October until December, and I think I did my first 2 or 3 rounds of chemotherapy, and then I had my birthday, and then I had to decide whether I was going to amputate my leg or if I was going to keep my biological leg and have the bone replaced with a titanium rod, which was my preference.
Let me just stop you there before we go into your leg and what you decided after that. So at this point, you know you've got cancer. The doctors confirmed it. You already knew. We've just spoken about that. You're a young woman in her 20s. Like you said, you were enjoying life, going on holiday, growing with friends. you know, on a journey of self-discovery, building your career. You've got cancer. It's real. It's happening. It's eating away at your body. What's going through your mind?
I think I saw cancer similar to having the flu.
Okay.
I saw it as a sickness that you get over it, or you take the treatment
and you eventually
get better.
Yeah.
I knew that my chemotherapy was going to be really aggressive, but I thought, well, I'll take my chemotherapy, that would kill the cancer, and I'll be fine. So that's literally what I thought. I thought it's a bit like getting the flu. You know, you take the flu jab, it makes you really sick.
Was there any sort of fear in your heart? Was there any, like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Like, my life is over? Or were you quite chilled? Or?
I had to do it. I didn't have a choice. I had to take my chemotherapy. I had to take all my medicine. And the thing about me is that I'm a really studious student. So they told me that I needed to take certain types of tablets every day to get better. I took everything
religiously,
I did.
yeah.
I think I remained quite positive generally throughout my treatment. And I think that helps because it makes you feel like there's a point to taking all the medicines. You know, I was on perhaps 20 different tablets a day.
Wow.
3 times a day, 4 times a day.
And obviously the different side effects that they have in your
they
body.
They all have side effects.
Yeah.
And I was on chemotherapy. I was on a lot of medication. But you kind of need to completely destroy your body if you're going to get through cancer so that you can reset it. So you're pushed almost really close to the brink, but not quite pushed over the brink, so that you can completely refresh
and start
everything
again.
Restarts again.
Yeah.
And then all the waste products are removed, and then your body starts to slowly build up again. So it was brutal.
Yeah, I remember when I came to see you, actually, you were telling me that some of your chemo, you started a new course of treatment, and it was just making you so tired, just so drained.
Tiredness, sick, nausea, sore throats, infections galore, no hair, all my hair fell out. I was very petrified of losing all my hair. That was the one thing that I was really upset about. I don't know why, because I was going to lose my leg, but losing my hair was a really big deal for me. And eventually I did have to have it shaved, and my dad shaved it for me. We bought some clippers and he shaved it because it was disgusting.
It's falling out.
But I think I was almost preoccupied with losing my hair because I did not want to think about losing my leg. So I think for me, you know, my cancer, in the booklets that I'd obviously got, it talked about the different treatment types, which are radiotherapy, chemotherapy and surgery. I was obviously on the chemotherapy route, and they mentioned, you know, a small minority of people with sarcoma. So imagine sarcoma, as rare as it is, to have to be in the group that needs to have her leg amputated. You know, a small minority of people need to have their leg amputated. I didn't read it. I just thought, this is just not for me. This is not my path. I'm not interested in this. I won't even consider
So you shut it out, basically.
I completely closed myself off to it. But I now know that actually the way to treat cancer is not through chemotherapy. It's not through radiotherapy. It is to cut it out. You need to just destroy it. And so actually surgery is the most effective form of treatment for cancer, not chemotherapy, not radiotherapy. So even if I had got my way at the time, I would not be here most likely today, because it's 2 years later, and the 2-year survival rate of my cancer is not very high if you don't treat it the way you need to treat it.
So you're telling us now that you went for the option of having your leg amputated.
Yeah, I had to. My doctor, I didn't want to, but my consultant said to me, you know, you could keep your leg, but you will lose your life.
Wow.
There is nothing else that we will be able to, our options after that, if once it comes back, are so limited. We will not be able to do anything.
I remember speaking to you again about that decision that you had to make, because you told me you've been doing some research and speaking to people who had decided to keep their leg on, those who decided to have it amputated, and you were sort of weighing up, you know, the pros and the cons. I remember vividly talking to you about that, and obviously when you had to come to the decision to have your leg amputated, again, how was that for you? Were you thinking about...
It was completely... I was obsessed with the decision because I didn't want to make the wrong choice.
Yeah.
But I also didn't want to make the difficult choice. So it completely consumed me because that's the only thing that I could really think about. I mean, it didn't completely consume me, but it did take up a large portion of my life. and I was reading lots of medical journals on it, and they're quite depressing to read, especially when you're on like all sorts of chemotherapy drugs and steroids and blah. They're not the most enlightening or positive reads that you could get your hands on. But I needed to make a choice.
Yeah.
And then my consultant at UCL, Professor Wheaton, who's amazing, put me in contact with an osteosarcoma survivor who I think was like 10, 20, 30 years on from his.
Oh, wow.
And he had got an amputation. And I met him, and it was like the first time that I'd actually that I was aware of coming into contact with someone who was living a life that was going to be
yours,
what mine was going to be. You know, I didn't have any awareness of, you know, amputee issues or prosthesis issues. I didn't know anything about it. I had no clue. It was just not on my radar.
Of course not. Yeah.
I didn't even know anyone who had the cancer that I had, and I think it was really important for me to meet others who had been in a similar position to me. So I met this really nice guy. He came into the hospital to see me. He walked in on his two legs, without a stick. He was working. He was so friendly. He was 20 years down the line, or I can't remember exactly, but he was no longer, you know, having to have checkups and stuff like that. He was fine. He was absolutely fine. And then I met somebody else, also a really lovely lady. She came to my house. She had it, but she had decided to keep her biological
leg.
So she had it in her knee.
Right.
But
the
she
same
kept,
cancer that you had.
Yeah, but
in
she
her
had
knee.
it in her knee. And she had decided to keep her biological knee and have it replaced. But the thing about a sarcoma is that it's super aggressive. So if you give it a tiny bit, it will just
take over.
It will just take the mix. So hers kept coming back. And even she advised me, she was like, you know, you're still young, you know, you're going to be on, if you choose this option, you'll be on medication going forward. Like, you'll never be able to stop medication, which is true. I'd always have to, in the course of a year, like, for example, half of the year I would spend on chemotherapy and the other half I would spend recovering. And that's not really life. It's not a quality of life that I wanted
to live, yeah.
So seeing those two survivors was what convinced me that I needed to amputate if I wanted to live life, really.
And the kind of life that you want as well.
Absolutely.
Not having to depend on drugs.
Yeah, because, you know, my starting point was that cancer was a sickness that you got better.
Like the flu.
Yeah, you know, it was something that you had, you take your medication, and then it's done. So the thought of having to do it over and over and over and over again was not something that I was willing to do.
My next question to you is, how did your faith play a part in all of this? During this time, what were your conversations with God like? What were you asking him? What were you talking about?
I think it's a really interesting question because I'm not quite sure. Like, I know the impression that all of my friends and family and like church people who came to see me, I know what their impression of me was, which was that I was really positive and that I was really encouraging to them, and they couldn't believe my strength, you know, and my mental / emotional strength. I think internally, I think it made me, you know, it made me look at my faith in a different way than I had before the cancer.
Yeah.
I think it made me think, how has this happened? Why has this happened?
So you did have those why me moments?
No, I don't really have a why. I don't know if I had a why me moment because, you know, cancer is one of those things that could happen to absolutely anybody. You know, if you grow up, if you get to a certain age, you are unfortunately more than likely 50%,
you're more prone to get it than someone else. Yeah.
50% of the population will probably at some point have to deal with cancer. So it wasn't really a why me. It was just like, why is this happening? Why am I getting this type of cancer? Why couldn't I get a type of cancer where I didn't have to lose my leg? Because that was now my new.
Yeah, you said, yeah.
You know, losing my leg was like the biggest thing on my mind. So it made me quite upset. It made me quite angry. I think I was quite annoyed that I
angry at God, angry with yourself, angry at the situation.
Just at the situation, a little bit like really annoyed, just really annoyed. Not at myself because I hadn't done anything, I don't know if I was annoyed at my body. I've read a lot about people being upset at their bodies for allowing it to grow, and I can kind of see that viewpoint. But then I kind of also see the viewpoint that my body got me through. It got me through my treatment, and it's still here. The rest of it got,
absolutely.
So one part let it down, but the rest of it was like fighting fit, and so strong. So I think I was just really annoyed, and I think it's made me a little bit bitter, I guess.
In what sense would you say?
In the sense that I don't see why I got. In a way, I guess in a way, why did I get cancer? I don't know if I don't know why it needed to happen, if that makes sense.
Okay.
That's
really interesting. So I guess
you're
still very early in your. When I say your journey, I mean you've recovered and you're cancer free to the glory of God, but it still doesn't make sense to you, does it, as to why it had to happen? What purpose did it serve? Okay, I get that.
I don't understand the purpose of it, and also I don't know if I would have done much, but I kind of felt like I should have been given some sort of warning that this was coming, and I don't really feel like I got.
How would that look like to you if you were to have a warning?
Sometimes you can have like a premonition or a premonition, like you can get a sense that something is about to happen.
Right, okay. So like in a dream or something?
This came out of
nowhere.
Obviously I knew something was wrong, and I was trying my best to get answers. But I didn't have any sense or foreboding that my life was going to be completely,
turned around.
I don't know if it would have helped, in all honesty, but some sort of preparation for what was coming.
So let's talk about before cancer. So pre-cancer, then living with cancer, and then post-cancer.
Yeah.
How would you describe your faith in each of those phases of your life and your relationship with God?
Before cancer, super strong, very active, regular. I mean, not very active, I'm not going to lie, but like active, regular.
Regular and active in what sense?
Going to church, just very interested in God, very aware of God, quite reliant on God.
And having a relationship with him, would you say?
Absolutely, having a relationship with God. So quite, engaged, I'd say. For me, maybe not for everyone. I wasn't someone who was like praying all the time or anything like that. I wasn't doing that.
But you would say that you had a relationship with God, you believed in him.
Absolutely. And throughout cancer, one thing that really I would still say that I was engaged with God. I was still in a relationship with God. I still believe in God. Or I still believed in God then, and even now I completely still, I don't think my faith has changed. I think it's just been, I think before cancer it was, I don't know, I'm not sure how to explain it, but it was unspoiled.
Okay.
It was...
So nothing had come to test it or challenge it, is that?
It's not even that, it's just that, I guess...
Because when you say unspoiled, I'm thinking it's almost pure, it's clean. So there's been no blemish, or there's been no sort of
There was no disappointment.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean by unchallenged.
Yeah.
And, unaffected. It's like, okay, I'm a Christian. I'm living life. I'm walking with God. He's walking me through all my life decisions, etc., etc. Everything's sort of hunky-dory.
Everything was fine.
Yeah.
But most things were fine. Nothing was perfect, but I think most things were bearable.
Yeah.
Everything, even if it was bad,
it wasn't life and
bearable.
death. Yeah.
It wasn't a life and death situation.
No.
And then this happened, and I was just like, that completely just transformed. It has completely turned everything.
But did your faith grow stronger in that time? Do you think that you said you were quite reliant on God. Those are the words you just used. I was quite reliant. Did you become more than quite reliant, as in fully reliant on God when you were going through the cancer, would you say? Or did it stay the same?
I would say it probably wavered a bit.
Okay, yeah.
I would say that my family became really strong in their faith, and that kind of helped me, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so where definitely. I was like annoyed, I'm not praying, I don't feel like doing this, which is nothing. I would never have done that before.
But that's completely understandable.
I was like, but I did it. But my family, they were like up early in the morning praying, all together. They would come to the hospital room and pray for me. And every time that anyone offered to pray for me, I would definitely take it. And obviously, I was praying quietly by myself as well, because, you know, that's what I knew. You know, you go to God.
Yeah, of course. So you're having,
you know,
in those moments by yourself.
But I was really upset. You know,
at the same time.
You know, I was really upset. But my family were really like, and I think that's what a family does, because you're not always going to be.
They uphold you, don't they?
Yeah, you know. So when you're like feeling weak, that's when people.
Their strength lifts you
up. And I think that's kind of the picture that you get. I don't know, but the picture that you get with. Is it Moses, where he gets his 2 sons while he's praying for people, and they hold up his hands so that when he gets tired, his hands are still doing what they need to be doing.
That they're propping him up.
Yeah, you know, and I think I was propped up.
By your family and their prayers. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's amazing.
I was definitely propped up because I was annoyed. I was
upset. And this is my question to you. What, if you don't mind, what exactly were you annoyed and upset at? Is it the cancer, or the fact that, you know, this is happening to me, I'm about to lose my leg, my hair's falling out, like, I'm 26, for goodness sake, I'm just starting my life out. What was upsetting you?
It wasn't so much the hair at this point, because the hair's been and gone.
And it's back.
You know, and I knew that the more serious thing was my leg. My whole premise of cancer was, you get cancer, take your medicine, you get back, you move on. You know, you move on with your life. And this, losing my leg, was the first hurdle that made me think, oh, maybe you don't just move on with your life.
Mm.
That really annoyed me.
Okay. Thank you for being honest about that. Really appreciate that.
That's fine.
My other question I wanted to ask you about was, how was it letting your friends and I guess your family know, so not your immediate family, obviously they live with you, but extended family and close friends. Yeah. Talk to us about that journey.
I'm a private person, believe it or not, even though I'm doing this. I'm very, you know, I don't broadcast my life. So telling friends, I really struggled with it. Like, even to this day, if there were people who I know don't know, you know, it makes me feel a bit
uncomfortable.
If I now know that I'm going to have to tell them what's happened, I don't feel comfortable in that aspect. But actually, even though I tried to hide it unsuccessfully from like my really close friends, they were starting to get worried about me, and they're like, why are you ignoring us, and why are you like not showing up for things, because it's just like not in my nature. And I couldn't really tell everyone over text, because what do you say? I've got cancer, I'm in hospital, sorry.
Exactly.
When I'm better, I'll, you know. So I was like, okay, if you come to the hospital, then I can tell you in person, sort of thing. Because now I can't get anywhere, I can't go anywhere.
Yeah, you're bedbound, like you said.
I was bedbound, I was in hospital, in the hospital wing, you know, so people had to come to me, which was fine, they had no issue with that. But it you know, sometimes if you're breaking bad news to people, you kind of want to do it in neutral ground. I didn't really have
You didn't have that choice, did you?
No,
That luxury?
No, because I didn't really want to do it on the phone, because then you can't really see how the person has
responded.
Taken it.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously face to face is better when you're dealing with difficult news. So they had to come to the hospital. So I had to kind of like let them know gently in the hospital, like my really, really, really close friends. And then
And how did they take it? Your close knit circle.
They're amazing. My friends. I think, if anything, my cancer journey, it has definitely shown me. Like, this is why I don't think that. I don't know. I think sometimes we box God up into what we think. This is how someone who's gone through something difficult should react, and this is how their faith should be affected. And, you know, and then we tell them, because we're Christians, that, oh, you know, you should keep your faith at this level, because that's what Christians are supposed to do. But actually, like, throughout my cancer journey, my friends, 99.999% of them were unbelievable. And I think myself and my family would say that we saw, you know, the love of God
demonstrated,
completely through my friends. Like, I cannot tell you how amazing, you know, they were so brave, I think. So my friends were amazing, and they were really brave, not just to me, but to my family as well. And they didn't diminish it in any way,
Yeah.
or they didn't make it sound like it was, you know, nothing. They weren't overly pessimistic either. They were just completely right. And not just my friends, but like everyone who surrounded me, like my work were amazing. Like they were so supportive. They would come into the hospital, come and visit me often, bring in food, bring in
That's
chocolates,
wonderful.
lots of
Yeah.
presents. They were unbelievable.
You had a really strong support network around you
My
at that time.
support network was like the best. I have heard, and I know through other people who have gone through cancer, that, you know, because cancer is such a scary thing, that their friends fall away and they feel quite isolated. But that never happened to me. Like, it was not my experience whatsoever, and it was absolutely because my friends just rallied around me. Like, they were and are still unbelievable. And I think that aspect of the journey is where God really showed himself, because I guess before the cancer, to go back to your earlier question, my faith in God, it was me, it was inward, it was very like, you know, I encouraged myself sort of thing, which is fine, you know, that's a good thing to think.
The Bible
to have,
talks about encouraging
you know,
yourself in the Lord as well. Yeah.
But when I was like so just like sick, and,
come to the end of your tethers, basically.
you know, just like, you know, they uplifted me, and, you know, I think God used them to lift me in that time of, you know, quite a despairing, bleak moment, you know. They were wonderful, they were absolutely wonderful, and, you know, I thank God for my friends and my family and my work, like literally everyone around me. I don't know where they got it from, but they were just, I was so pleased to have them around me as my friends, you know. I really, and Alex as well, Alex was just
phenomenal,
incredible. He was and continues to be phenomenal. You know, every single person around me was exactly what I needed to help me get through it.
Yeah.
And I could not have really done it without their support, without their help, without their, you know, their encouragement. Like, so
just being there as well.
Just so many, like every time they came, they brought things for me, you know, because hospital food is really bad. It's really horrible. And at first I was eating it because I thought, you know, well, they know what they're doing, they just want me to keep my strength. But after a while you give up and you just don't want to eat it. It's just so foul. So my friends would constantly bring food for me, things that I actually wanted to eat.
Things that you're craving.
You know, they were just, you know, I cannot, just like countless. As soon as they found out, you know, that's where I was hiding. You know, they were there with me. They were
the whole way through.
Absolutely. They continue to be there with me. You know, they're such encouragers. And like I said, I absolutely think the fact that I didn't go through it alone is how I saw God at work. And in a way, while I was really annoyed that I got cancer, I was very bitter that I got cancer. On the other hand, you know, I did see God at work through the people he put surrounding me. Like, he just made that part just so beautiful, so smooth. Like, if I was writing, you know, the story, and I wanted the viewers to kind of get encouraged from the story, like, that's how I hope I would have written it. So that was perfect, really, in a way. So on the one hand, yes, the cancer's really bad and it's terrible and it's the worst thing in my life. But on the other hand, like, I saw lots of goodness spring forth from it. And so I wouldn't really say that my faith in God declined or decreased, because I know if it was something good, it came from God.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. And moving on to the latter part of the quote that we talked about earlier. Yeah. So this opened up a whole new beautiful life for you. Talk to us about what that beautiful life has been like, how you've adapted. Like, obviously now you're cancer-free,
yes,
which is amazing.
Absolutely.
I want to make that clear. Cancer-free, God is real, anti-heals.
Absolutely.
Cancer-free, God is real, anti-heals. Amazing. Talk to us about life after cancer and how you've been adapting. Obviously, you've got a prosthetic leg. What's that been like for you?
Firstly, I think sometimes when we want things, we only want it on our terms. And in life, you have to make difficult decisions. And if you don't make those difficult decisions, you're not going to get the results that you want. Not all the time, but there are times where, you know, so for me to be cancer free came at a cost.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something that just magicked itself out of thin air. I had to, because of the type of person I am, seriously consider whether I wanted to lose my leg or not, so that I can now enjoy the life that I'm having. That came at quite a high price, you know, that it came at the price of my left leg. You know, I'm amputated from above the knee. So I think, you know, it is fantastic, but, you know,
you're making it clear that
yeah,
there is a cost, there's a sacrifice.
It didn't just like
magically
magic
happen.
itself out of the air, and like I
went through chemo, and, you know, really...
Chemotherapy was brutal. I would never ever want to go through it again. Having to amputate my leg was brutal. I would never want to lose my right leg. It has made me very grateful for, you know, the rest of my body, not so much the left leg, but for the rest of my body, I'm very grateful. Like, you know, normally, you know, in church, they're like, you know, you've got 2 hands, you've got 2 legs, and, you know, gosh, that is such a blessing to have 2 legs that work, 2 arms, you know, to have your body...
You don't take it for granted at all.
To have your body working the way it is intended to work, or the way, you know, you just think and you just do something easily, you know, that is, you know, not everybody has that. And I used to have that. I have it on most of it now, but I used to have that, and I don't have that completely anymore. But equally, I do have my life, and the most important thing is my life. And I have a good life, you know. I have lots of family, lots of friends, lots of support around me who build me up, who encourage me, who share in my journey, you know. So even like the really, really, really small things that, you know, I would have never considered before. So like when I was in hospital, for example, I couldn't eat because of the chemotherapy, because every time I ate, it made me sick, and I was nauseous, and it was horrible. Plus I wasn't moving, so I didn't really have an appetite, but I wanted to eat, and like I felt like I needed to eat. So even like, you know, a tiny, tiny tangerine in the hospital, if I was to unpeel it, would take me ages to
unpeel the skin, yeah.
And once I've done all of that effort, I've gone through all of that hassle.
And you've lost your appetite to eat
Not
it.
even that, I'd eat like 2 segments of the tangerine and I'd be full.
Wow.
Or I'd have like, you know, rice in front of me and I could eat like 3 grains of rice, you know. Now, you know, I can peel a tangerine like no one's business.
And you're having the whole thing.
And I can eat the whole thing, and that, you know, in the hospital, that was like a massive thing to be able to just eat, you know, a handful of grapes.
Enjoy it as
and
well.
enjoy it and not be sick. You know, I remember when if I ate, I would have to kind of give myself an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to see, is it going to stay down? Am I going to, you know, how long is this going to last? And I don't get that anymore. So it has taken small baby steps to get to where I am. And even now I'm still getting like, oh, that's the first time I've done that, you know, since I've had my prosthesis and blah, blah, blah. But actually having a prosthesis is not as bad as I thought it would be. It's really difficult. I really struggle with it. I really hate it sometimes. You know, it doesn't work the way that you think it should work. The process is very long-winded. It's full of disappointments, like just constant disappointments.
Could you give some examples?
Yeah, I can give examples. I really wanted a prosthesis that looked exactly like my missing, deceased left leg. And on the NHS, that's really difficult to get. They can give me a cover, a cosmesis is what they call it, that goes up to just below my knee, but the rest of it is like foam and tea-coloured tights. So it doesn't look anything
like the rest of your body.
Yeah, it doesn't blend in, it doesn't really, you know, it looks like 2 odd bits that are trying to look like something that used to be there. And I guess that's why some people just don't even bother with trying to make it look like a leg. They just wear it so that it looks like, you know, robotic or very like, you know, metal material feel. That didn't make sense, but
I know what you mean.
You know, they just leave it natural. They just leave it raw and say there's no point me pretending that this is a leg. It's not a leg. It's a prosthesis. It's painful. You know, it's difficult. It's so tiring. in terms of walking, which is not walking, but if I was to try and walk beside you, for instance, you know, the energy that you're using is at least half what I'm using to do what looks like.
Should be effortless,
You know, it takes so much energy to be able to power through a prosthesis. It is so tiring, it's so exhausting, and then it hurts, like you get sores, your alignment is out, your back is painful. It can, like, because obviously you're in a socket which is made out of plastic and then has a rubber around it, and then has like a laminate around that. I can't remember what the laminated material is, but there's a lot of hardware that your skin is now encased in, you know, for however long you wear it in the course of a day. It gets hot, it goes out of shape, it moves around, so you don't feel steady. Like, my balance issues are, there's a whole list.
Can see,
and that's just, you know, one aspect of it.
How's it like driving? Because you drive now, obviously.
Well, I had to learn how to drive. Learning how to drive has been one of the best things that I have done.
Did you learn how to drive with your...
I was learning how to drive when I had 2 biological legs, 2 meat legs, and I got cancer, so I had to stop for a long time, and I was learning manual. And then after I was diagnosed, my dad said, you know what you need? When I was nearing the end of my chemotherapy,
starting to feel better.
We're looking ahead. I didn't feel better because I had like 2 major infections at the end.
Oh wow!
Like back to back, which is fine. But it's just cancer like that. It's just what it does to you. It really does destroy most things. But he said, you know, now that we're looking ahead and you're leaving the hospital almost now for good, you know, one of the things that will help your life is learning how to drive, and he was so right. Because
Dad's always been the best.
No, absolutely, because public transport's really difficult to try and use if you are disabled.
Yeah.
You know, people like the general public generally do not have that great awareness of people who do not operate like them. You know, so if I was to go outside and it was busy and it was crowded, you know, people would, you know, nudge into me or push past me and stuff like that, and think that, oh, she's a young, healthy girl. She's obviously healthy.
I can just barge her in the stomach, you know.
She's got 2 leg-like things there. Like,
they wouldn't even know any different.
I've got a cane, but you know, they would think that, oh, even if she's kind of like shuffling a bit, she'll be able to recover quite quickly. And actually, it's quite difficult. It can be quite difficult when you've got one leg and all your weight is really rested on that one leg, and then, you know, you're trying your best to kind of like hold your balance in place, and then someone just either comes really close to you and then stops really quickly, because I cannot react as quickly with my prosthesis. It is not as quick. It is nowhere near as quick as
your natural leg. Yeah.
You know, so it takes a long time for me to say, okay, I'm going to hold myself. You know, it's not a sudden. I can't react suddenly. And if my balance is shaken, that's everything. Like, my bones are weak following chemotherapy, following the steroids that I was on, all of that. So if I fall, you know,
it's actually quite a big deal.
It's a massive deal. And I fall all the time. But if I have a really serious fall, you know, the long-term implications of that are quite serious. So I do have to be quite cautious. So in a car, I'm comfortable, you know, I can get from A to B so much easier without sweating, without being out of breath, without any difficulty, without any fear of what the environment looks like. You know, is there a little bit of a slope up? Is there a little bit of a slope down?
Is there a camera on the road? Or
is there water on the ground? If it's ice, I mean, forget about it. If there's snow, there's just no point. Leaves, twigs, you know, cobbles, anything that is not like a hospital environment where everything is smooth and perfect represents a challenge to try and overcome. Rugs, so, you know, it's difficult. It's really difficult. But in a car, which I learned how to drive after. So I took automatic lessons after I left the hospital. So I finished my chemotherapy in April. I took automatic driving lessons with the AA, which was the first time I'd done that, but I was desperate to learn, so I was like, fine.
I'll do it.
No, I prefer independent driving schools, but the AA, they said they were the only ones who were available. And I started lessons, and then later that year, I passed my automatic.
Congratulations.
We bought a car, and it's just really improved my quality of life, because otherwise I'm stuck inside.
Yeah. You want to get out and about, don't you?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because I've had over a year of
being stuck inside. Yeah.
In a hospital, and then stuck inside in the house. It's just not good for you being stuck inside all the time. So yes, I've learned how to drive. And
you're coping generally, like obviously a new challenge presents itself every single day, and you're learning to sort of find your way around it.
To adapt.
Yeah, to adapt. But in general, life after cancer is treating
much
you
better.
well.
Do you know, like, cancer is not the worst thing in the world that you can go through. It's just one of those things that happens to people. That happens to, like, how many people would have got cancer today, or who would have heard the news. It's not a death sentence. It's a small chapter in your life, really. And you can get through it, because you know, if you want to get through something, you will get through it. You know, you might not always have that motivation to do it within yourself, and that's why having people around you is useful. But not everybody has people around them, and if you don't, you need to be that person. You need to be those people for yourself. You're for yourself. But having cancer is not the worst thing in the world, and actually, you know, it's bad. It's not the greatest of things. I'm not going to lie, but it has also, I guess, opened up new avenues for me, or at least made me appreciate things maybe a little, not all the time, because sometimes I forget.
You're still human.
Sometimes I forget, but there is more to life than just having cancer, I think, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
And I did have cancer. I don't have it anymore. I'm so grateful not to have it anymore. And I'm just literally trying to get back to a normal life, which was what I was doing before. You know, that's all, you know, if I can do the things that I was doing before easily, well, it's not so bad, is it?
Wow, Kemi, that's been amazing speaking to you and just hearing about all the different stages of your journey, where you've come from, where you are now, where you're heading, and just hearing you be so frank and so honest about the different emotions that you've experienced through that. I commend you. I always say this to you, but I think you're so brave. I know you're so brave. You're so courageous. You're so strong, and it's just a blessing to know you and to have you as a friend. So thank you for being on here. I've got some last questions, but they're more lighthearted, and it's a bit of a quiz, but not a test. So they're quick fire questions. Don't think about it too much. Just the first answer that comes to your head. Okay? First question. Finish this sentence. I am courageous because
I followed through with my initial determination, which was, you have cancer, you get better, and then you get over it. And I stuck to it.
I love it. You did. And you're here today to tell the tale. Okay, next question. What has living with cancer and then going on to be cancer taught you? What's the biggest lesson?
Sorry, say that
What's
again.
the biggest lesson that cancer has taught you, would you say?
That it can happen to anybody. And if it does happen to you, you should research your cancer and don't be swayed by alternative facts when it comes to cancer. You need to tackle it head on. Don't try not to bury your head in the sand about it. Like, face the difficult questions and answers so that you can help yourself.
Yeah. And lastly, how do you know that God is real?
I just know. I've always known that God is real. It's just, I just know. You know, I don't really have, you know, because X plus Y equals Z. I don't have that kind of.
There's no right or wrong answer. Yeah. So it's whatever you.
I just know. I've always known. I will always know. I knew that during hospital. I was like, what if I'm going to be one of those people who's like, you know, I had cancer and then I stopped believing in God, and I was like, you know, you can't do that. It's just not. It's just not part of my. I just know, you know. It's just one of those. It's one of those innate things, which is why I don't think I ever said, "Why me, God?" or "God, if you really existed, this would never happen." Like,
you didn't even go there.
It's not how I think. I just thought, well, God, why didn't I get, you know, a warning? But like I said, I don't know if that would have helped.
Yeah, you don't know. Well, thank you, Kemi. It's been great. It's been absolutely amazing. Well, that's it for another episode of Releasing the Realness. As always, it's been real. Kemi, thank you so much for being on the show. You've been absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing your heart with us. Well, once again, from me and everyone in the studio, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time on Releasing the Realness.